welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Happy Friday to everyone. I hope that you are having a fantastic day and able to just get through a pretty quick and easy day to get into the weekend if you have the normal weekend schedule of Saturday and Sunday. And I hope that it's good weather wherever you live, and because I feel like that's what matters most right now if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, if you live in the States or Europe area or things like that, because we are kind of getting into summer a little bit. And I know that those of you that live in Australia and in the Southern Hemisphere are in winter, and I don't often take time to think about that, not in a mean way or anything. It's just more of like, in the hemisphere that you live, you're thinking about the weather and the seasons that are happening. But I am on one of those email mailing lists for a certain fitness brand, and they are based out of Australia. So I keep getting emails talking about, getting geared up for winter. And I'm just like, wait, what? Winter? No, like it's June. We're in summertime. But then I have to remember, wow, yeah, of course, theirs are opposite from ours. Their seasons are opposite. So, they're gearing up for winter and we're over here trying to gear up for hot weather, summertime. So anyway, I digress. So it's just interesting. But yes, so I hope that even if you do live down under, that it is, not super cold, not miserable. I hope that it's still enjoyable wherever you live. And I just want to mention, as I do every single episode, that if you are having a hard day, that you should take the 5-minute reset time where you're able to spend some time alone, at least 5 minutes, for you to regain peace, come back to baseline, just kind of reboot and restart your day right then and there. And a lot of times taking that time to just regather yourself is so helpful for you to be able to problem solve whatever crap is getting in your way and preventing you from having an amazing day. But also it gives you some time to really calm down if you're super worked up or stressed or have high anxiety about whatever's going on. And also it can help you to, think of some things that you are grateful for, so that you're able to be like, okay, I am grateful for all of these amazing things that are happening in my life. And, I am going to, I always encourage people to list at least 4 things if you're going to make a list of gratitudes. And they can be big, they can be small, they can be kind of medium. It doesn't matter. Just make that list. It'll also help to humble you and realize that you still have great things going on for you in your life, and that hopefully that whatever you're going through right now will pass and become something that is only a minor blip when you go back to reflect on it. But make sure that when you leave your 5-minute reset time, that you are feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of your day. You do not want to go around dragging other people into your bad, negative day. You also want to make sure that you feel neutral, because you want to be able to finish the day as best you can, and just know that tomorrow can be better, and keep that mindset, because just going and continuing to dwell on negative things until you fall asleep and get up the next day, that's not really going to help you do anything. So I encourage you to do that. But again, happy Friday. Just a reminder that this week, and today is the last day of this week's topic because it's Friday, obviously. But this week we were talking about growing your mindset. And today, Friday, we are going to talk about learn to flex when needed. So let's go ahead and just jump on in. Not everyone is going to work out the way Not everything is going to work out the way you want it to. So the need to flex is very important. Mental flexibility can help cultivate happiness and bring down your stress level. And, I love talking to people about the ability to flex, because sometimes even if we don't experience control issues on the regular, we have a hard time allowing things in our life to flex, giving things some room to adjust, because we want everything to just be the way that we thought it was going to turn out, the way that we were told that it was going to turn out, you know what I mean? And it can be really hard to be like, wow, this is just not turning out the way I thought. And, people that, like myself, that do suffer from control issues and anxiety will sometimes come up with different scenarios, but a lot of times even those scenarios will not work out. if we have to change course and it just becomes super overwhelming. So having mental flexibility can cultivate happiness and less stress, because you're not spending as much time stressing on what the wrong things that are happening and what you're supposed to do next. And because you're letting things flex, and you're fine if things don't turn out the way that it is supposed to, or you had planned it, and that allows you to have more happiness in your life because you're not taking up all this room with this anxiety and stress. I know that we all create routines in our lives, and when everything is going well, it just feels so great. But it's important to remember that things will not always go as planned, and it's just true, because we can spend days and weeks and months and years planning something. Like, let's say you've been planning your wedding for 2 years. You have the most detailed schedule of when every little thing is going to happen, and something happens where there's like a medical emergency in the middle of the ceremony or in the reception, or suddenly like bad weather comes about and everything gets shut down, or maybe someone wasn't able to make it because there was some crazy accident that's blocking traffic. Maybe you accidentally ingested something that you're allergic to, and so now you have to deal with that. Like, there are so many things that could happen despite how much time you take to plan it out. So I want to encourage you to just know that despite all of that, it's like good things are still going to happen. These things just creep up without us knowing. So it's just, it's important just to remember that not everything's going to work out the way that you want it to, and to kind of give some buffer room for that so it doesn't, totally break you down fully. And if you suffer from control issues, this might be a toughie for you, but to handle. But if your plans go differently, or something causes trouble when you weren't expecting it. And I suffer from those control issues immensely. Like, I totally get it, because I want everything to just be so, together the way that I planned it. And it's tough. It's really tough. And I want you to know that if you are also suffering from those, it's okay. That I am here to tell you that you will be able to conquer those feelings and those behaviors still, and become more flexible, even if you are still struggling with your control issues. And also just know that if you feel like you are the type of person that finds it hard to change and adapt in the moment because everything needs to be, just so, that's fine. But just know you can change and become more flexible if you take it a little bit at a time. Just have like mini baby steps of you adding in some flexibility to your life, of you not reacting as quickly, of you being like something like maybe you ordered your groceries online and then they got to the house and 3 things weren't there, but you still paid for it, or they got the wrong thing, and you're not going to totally lose it over those things. You're going to be like, okay, well, now I need to either reorder those things or go to the store and get those things, or figure this out. It's not going to be a super big deal. This is not something that deserves so much stress over. Even if you really needed those things right away for that dinner that evening, there's always something else that can be done. So, it'll just take a little bit of time, take baby steps. Be like, if that situation had happened to you, you can be like, okay, I'm going to choose to be fine with it. I'm going to choose to figure out a way for me to get to the store, especially if it's difficult, you have a car or whatever, and figure it out, or change whatever recipe you're going to make and move on. Like, there's definitely ways for you to like grow little by little to become more flexible in your everyday life. And the biggest benefit you will get from being more flexible is not stressing as much about what is happening compared to what was supposed to be happening. So it's just, for me, I suffer from, being a control freak, trying to be a perfectionist, but I'm working on both of those things a lot. And, you want the things to happen the way that you want them to happen. And I feel like I've said this like 5 times right now already in this episode, but it's important for you to know that the biggest benefit of being flexible is not really caring that much about those things. Like, there's definitely going to be times in your life where you are really going to care that something didn't go to plan because it was supposed to all work out a certain specific way. Like, maybe if you were going to propose, to your future spouse, or maybe if you were supposed to deliver a very specific and special presentation in front of like hundreds of thousands of people. Like those are really big deal things. But even in the end of that, like you're going to probably be upset, but also you're still going to need to flex a little bit. You're still going to need to let that room be in there so that you're able to continue on, do your best, and adapt to the situation that you are currently now in, as opposed to what you thought you were going to be in. And something helpful to think about to get you on the right track of being more flexible is to think of some ways in your life right now that you could compromise on and be more flexible. And being able to identify some ways you can bend right now and giving those ways a try will make it easier to do so in the future when it's unexpected. So one of the examples when I was doing research for this episode, they were giving some examples of being more flexible. So they're saying, like, if you get up or before you go to bed every morning, what am I talking about? Actually, though, that actually was my real life many years ago when I worked night shifts, so I get that. Anyway, when you go to bed every night, you have a routine where you go to the kitchen and you wash up all the dishes, or you load them to the dishwasher so that your kitchen is clean in the morning. And I was actually on this trend for a while during quarantine here, and then I got out of it because it was so, I don't know, my whole life got caught up in other things. So anyway, so you want to make sure that the kitchen is all washed up before you go to bed. And in the example, they were saying that to start bending a little bit and having more flexibility in your normal everyday life, maybe leave some of those dishes 1 or 2 times a week overnight, just in the sink. Like, just let them sit in the sink. Maybe you'll rinse them to make sure there's no food on them or whatever, or pre-scrub them, but you won't wash them. You won't load them in the dishwasher. You just leave them and deal with it the next day when you have time. And so it's things like that where routines that you already have in your life, just like readjusting a little bit, maybe not being so hyper focused on having to get it done, having more flexibility, not worrying about it. That could really help you like begin those baby steps of becoming more flexible. And then maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, what happens if it just totally is blown out of proportion and I'm so flexible that I don't get things done? And I would probably say that wouldn't necessarily happen to everyone, because if you are a stickler about your routine, then you probably won't let it fly too far. But if you do, like I did, in regards to my whole laundry situation in my home, then you're going to have some discipline and rein it back in a little bit. Because for me, what happened is I was so diligent about wanting to like get laundry done, but then I needed to add some flexibility because it was stressing me out to stay up till all hours of the night to make sure that everything came out of the dryer, was folded, was put away. And then I added more flexibility to be like, okay, I'm just going to leave baskets of laundry here. I'm going to do it the next day. And then days turn into weeks and weeks turn into weeks. And so as I'm sitting here, there are 5 baskets of laundry, I believe, sitting in my living room that have been there for over a week because I don't like to put laundry away. I don't mind cleaning it, but I hate putting it away. It's like the bane of my existence, I would say. And that was kind of a way of me like letting that flexibility fly a little too far. And so I am continually trying to get myself to rein it back in. It's also one of the chores that I hate the most just in general, so it makes it even worse, double down for me. But so that would be an example of letting it fly too far. But if you just have discipline, which I have, I just need to put it into motion and rein it back a little bit, then you can have an even balance of having flexibility in your life, but also having regularity and a routine that you like to abide by. And some more great things about being more flexible in life is not being so defensive, because you take time to respond without just reacting in the same way you normally would. So if you're having a conversation with someone and all of a sudden they say something mean, they say something angerful, they say something that would normally produce a reaction from you that is like harsh and very criticizing and just angry in general. But if you introduce more flexibility into your mental capacity, you will be able to give yourself that space to really be like, okay, how should I actually respond? What does this situation actually call for? Because I feel like a lot of us have those instant reactions to things, like whether it's physical or verbal or mentally, emotionally. And if we are able to give ourselves more mental flexibility and just leave a little bit of space there, we'll be able to respond in a more appropriate way depending upon the situation that you're in, and not just a generalized response. So hopefully that makes some sense. Also, you have the ability to change your opinion if you learn new information and need to adjust your thinking. This goes hand in hand with being open-minded. And I feel like this is very appropriate for, the Black Lives Movement that everyone is, trying to participate and make change in. And, some people might realize that they've grown up with these terrible ways of thinking about race and relationships and that, and how we're supposed to come together, and the thoughts of, thinking about people needing just the culture and the diversity in your world and how you grew up with that. And then you might realize that you grew up with racism tendencies, like even spouting out microaggressions, and you didn't even realize it. I'm just here to tell you that it's fine. It's like a lot of people are experiencing the need to change their way of thinking, to re-educate themselves, to uneducate themselves from any negative ways of thinking or ways that would hurt others unintentionally or intentionally. And it's okay. It's okay to admit that you are thinking wrong. It's okay to want to change how you think and how you treat other people when you get new information, and that is being flexible. You're letting your mindset grow, you're being more open-minded, you're being flexible with your belief system and how you see others, and that is great, because that even goes hand in hand with someone that may have done you wrong in the past and comes to you and asks for forgiveness and has truly changed. And then you don't want to just seal your heart off to them completely if they actually are taking the time to apologize and figure out what they need to do to serve you better and truly mean it. And this isn't like the third time they've done it. You know what I mean, where you're able to be flexible and be like, okay, I am willing to give you another shot. We all deserve multiple chances in life to get things right when we mess up. And so that is just another example of being flexible will definitely help you to readjust your mindset when you need it. You can also see the humor in some things going wrong and letting those things just slide right off your back. And I feel like this is another good one because, you're in the middle of having a party at your home and someone lit the candles on the birthday cake, and then something else happens and part of your kitchen is suddenly on fire. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. And maybe you're not necessarily laughing in the moment, but maybe you are. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened, but this is going to be a great story to tell later. But we are prepared because we know we have a fire extinguisher, or we know how to put out a small fire very quickly, very easily. And so just being and realizing okay, no one got hurt, nothing bad happened, maybe a little bit of damage here and there, but it's not something that we can't get fixed at some point. Just being able to see the humor in some things going wrong. I know that if really big things go wrong, let's say you're going out of town to go to a funeral and you miss your flight, or they cancel the flight, or something happens, that's going to be a lot harder to see the humor in, but you might find some humor down the line for you to be able to just, not let it drag you down so much, not let it cause you so much stress, because you don't want to just continue packing stress on your back, because it will break at some point. It absolutely will. So just being able to see the funny parts, see, the craziness from a different perspective, a different view of bad things going wrong is so healthy and so helpful. And lastly, those that are mentally flexible are high in emotional intelligence and have an easier time listening, and when I say listening, I mean active listening and empathizing with others. And it's so helpful to be there and to see what someone is going through from their perspective, and being open to having conversations about what they're going through and assisting in the best way that would help them best. And having that mental flexibility to do that, to be able to change the way that you would help someone based upon what they're going through and think of the appropriate questions to ask based upon what they're going through, and, you know, not just treat them the same as you would treat any person on the street, of like a pat on the back and a "I'm so sorry you're going through this" and a hug, and then walk away. Like, you know, because I feel like different people in different situations call for different ways to empathize and support someone, and being able to have that mental flexibility to figure out what you should do for this particular person, this particular trouble that they're going through. You're able to just like bend and, you know, move to the way that you need to help them. And, you know, acknowledge new ways of thinking and being in the world. I'm just going to close out on this because being mentally flexible, you will acknowledge new ways of thinking and being in the world, and you will step out and be like, okay, you know, maybe we can try it like this, and or maybe we should do it like that, or I don't understand why you are still thinking of this like that when there's been so much reform and change in the world for this many years, depending upon what it is. And I'm not just talking about race for that. So many other things in the world that have just developed and changed over time that are important to note and to share with people. So I just encourage you to really think about it. Think about, you might think that you are flexing in your life, and I would encourage you to take at least 5 minutes to reflect on what over the past week you feel like you've actually flexed on. And maybe if you can't come up with anything or really that many examples, that should be a indicator to you that you might need to practice flexing more, having more mental flexibility, figuring out how you can create more space so that, you know, you're not super stressed out, but you're also not stressing out other people because you're so demanding in what you want to get done at a certain time. I get it. I've been there. I know what you were I know what you're going through, but it's important to acknowledge new ways of doing things, being in the world, you know, being with others who think differently, who live differently, and just knowing that not everything is going to go the way that we want it to. Okay, you guys, that is the end of our episode. Again, thank you for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Happy Friday. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and if you know anyone else that would really enjoy it, I encourage you to share it with them. Please check the description box for any notes for the show, my email address where you can send me any questions, comments, concerns, or prayer requests, where you can find me on Instagram. My handle is down there as well, and my website. So again, have a great day. Have a fantastic weekend. I hope that you guys join me for next week's episodes, and I don't know what we're talking about yet, but it's going to be great. And I encourage you to check out any previous episodes from this week's topic, the growing in your mindset, and previous topics from previous weeks. So again, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. Really, really enjoy your weekend. I hope it's great weather wherever you are, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.